here of RespectMyRegion.com, one of the sports writers and the sports editor. And after a wild week 11 to the NFL season, I'm here to tell you everything you need to know. So the 2024 NFL season, it's been a good one, I have to say. There's been years past and whatnot where it's just, week to week it becomes predictable. This week was anything but that, as we had incredible games all across the board. Five I want to highlight here, the 5 games of the week. We had coming at number 5, I have Packers at Bears. This was a good one. I think most people anticipated it being pretty good, and the Packers narrowly eke out a win over the Bears, 20-19. There was some questionable play calling down the stretch by the Bears. People questioning some of head coach Matt Eberflus's decision making late in game, but nevertheless, the only way through is forward, and the Bears can't dwell on it too much. And this one, Jordan Love threw for 13 for 17 for 261 yards, had a touchdown and interception and 1 sack. Josh Jacobs, a really good pickup for the Packers. Last year they had Aaron Jones, who departed for the division rival Minnesota Vikings in free agency. And Josh Jacobs, really good pickup for them. I think a lot of people got caught up in Derrick Henry last year and Saquon Barkley in free agency. That Josh Jacobs kind of flew under the radar, but he's been excellent for them so far this season. This game, no different. 18 carries for 76 yards and a touchdown, while also getting 4 receptions for 58 yards as an eligible receiver. Not bad. Jordan Love had a rushing touchdown himself, 4 carries, 18 yards. Their leading receiver on 4 receptions and 150 yards. Talk about value. Christian Watson, a longest of 60. No touchdowns for him, but there was one for Jaden Reed, 2 for 23, and this one a longest of 15. So low scoring affair in this one, but overall a really good game. If you were watching it there, sadly I wasn't able to watch it in person. I had to watch it through highlights because it wasn't available in my market. Oh well, ho hum. Just to highlight some of the Bears here, DeAndre Swift, 14 for 71 and a touchdown rushing. Roshan Johnson, 10 for 33 and a touchdown. And sadly, this game kind of overshadows a pretty seemingly decent game by Caleb Williams, 23 for 31, 231 yards, 3 sacks for a loss of 19 yards. That you're really going to feel. But overall, pretty good game. For the receivers, Rome Odunze, 6 receptions, 65 yards. DJ Moore, 7 for 62 on 7 targets. Cole Kmet on 3 targets, 3 receptions, 42 yards. Pretty decent games. It was a fun watch. Terrell Smith had a 23-yard interception for the Bears. Listen, sometimes this just happens. Your team just loses a narrow game against an opponent. A lot of people are, again, questioning whether or not Matt Eberflus trying to get as close as he could and drain the clock late in game was a good decision or not. I think it was. We've seen so many teams come back with seemingly no time that it's good to just try to get that last second buzzer beater in there. I mean, leave no doubt. If the Packers get the ball back, you know what I'm saying? If you get the ball back with very little time left, it doesn't really matter. You just try to get the score. It doesn't. I think I'm explaining what I mean wrong. People are criticizing whether or not they should have drained as much time as they did, the Bears. And I think it's a good decision. I think it's a good decision because if you're the Bears, you're trying to win the game. You don't want the Packers to have any time left if you take that score, obviously, assuming you get the score. They went for a kick by Cairo Santos. It was for a 45-yarder, 46-yarder, something like that. That's certainly doable nowadays. I mean, we're seeing 50 to 60 yards pretty routinely, all things considered. But yeah, I mean, it was last play of the game, and it was a missed field goal. What are you going to do? It was a 46-yard field goal and it was blocked. So what are we really complaining here? I mean, I guess they had 53 seconds left in the fourth. No huddle shotgun. Caleb Williams passed a short left to Keenan Allen to Green Bay on Green Bay's 30 for 12 yards. The replay official reviewed the pass completion ruling and the play was upheld. The ruling on the field stands. Then it was a timeout. Then Johnson up the middle to Green Bay's 28 for 2 yards. Timeout, and then the kick. I don't know what people are complaining about. I think it's people piling on Matt Eberflus because they know he's the next coach on the chopping block, aside from Doug Peterson from the Jaguars, who we'll get to in a bit later on. I I don't understand it. I understand people like to question every little decision a head coach makes, but at the same time, too, this one just made sense. It just made sense. Go for the touchdown. Why? That should have been a gimme. You're going to block a 46 yard, field goal. That's not exactly a layup to see coming. So, oh well. Good for the Packers. This was their first win in the NFC North this season. Another North Division rivalry game here. Ravens at Steelers. Time from the AFC North. Another one going into this game. It was a stay away game if you're a better. 23 times between John Harbaugh and Mike Tomlin. The underdog has won it outright. And this was no different. 18-16 Steelers win this one without a single touchdown. So anytime that happens, it just blows my mind. And they seem to be doing it constantly, it feels like. 18-16, Russell Wilson, 23 for 36, 205 yards and an interception, 4 sacks for a loss of 24 yards. Najee Harris, the power back for the Steelers, 18 for 63. Jalen Warren, 9 for 41. And Justin Fields, 2 for 17. How about that? Receiving George Pickens, 8 for 89 on 12 targets. Darnell Washington, 2 for 42 on 4. Najee Harris, 4 for 30 on 5. So, once again, no receiving touchdowns of note for the Steelers. They did have some sacks, so we gotta give respect to the defensemen here. TJ Watt had one, and so did Dean Lowry. Good for them. And I believe there was an interception by Peyton Wilson. If you're going up against the Steelers and there's somebody named Wilson, you're in for a day, it seems like. All right. Baltimore. Let's take a look at them. 16 for 33. Lamar Jackson was 207 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, 2 sacks for only a loss of 2 yards. Not bad. The way they were able to contain Derrick Henry, that's going to be the story moving forward. 13 carries for 65 yards and a touchdown. Very rare you see Derrick Henry below 100 these days. 13 for 65. I mean, that rate is still insane. That's a rate of 5 yards per carry. But, 65 yards only at a longest of 31. So really it's 12 on 34, which is about 3 1/3. So, yeah, it's a little deceiving in terms of yards per play. And I just did the quick math there. You like that? Receiving 4 receptions for Isaiah Likely to get 75 yards, the longest of 42. Not bad. Zay Flowers, 2 for 39 and a touchdown on 6 targets. Rashad Bateman, 2 for 30. And Nelson Aguilar did have a target. And maybe that's why they lost. They didn't have they're going up against the Black Magic Steelers, and you have the Black Magic wide receiver, Nelson Aguilar. It seems like anytime that guy gets the ball, something wild happens. You always forget about him. And then he always has one of the craziest plays in that game. Every time I watch him, man, unbelievable. He used to torture my Giants when he was on the Eagles, as if Giants fans needed any more torturing. So, like I said, there were 4 sacks by the Ravens defense this game. So why don't we just highlight those boys real quick? Odafe Owe had 2.5. Brandon Stevens had a half. Broderick Washington. What a name, man. Broderick Washington. Sounds like he could have been a 1960 superhero. He had a sack in this one. And that does it. Yeah, I guess that counts for 4. Wow. There we go. I lost my quick math skills already. Kicking, Justin Tucker, 1 for 3. Usually the most efficient field goal kicker in the history of the NFL coming into play this season. And I don't know what happened. He's been horrible. 1 for 3 with a 33% chance, obviously, this game. A longest of 54, 1 for 1 on extra points, 4 points total. If he made those two, suddenly Ravens are winning 22-18. It's unbelievable. Who would have seen that coming? And while we're talking about kickers, got a tip of the cap. Chris Boswell, 6 for 6, a longest of 57, 18 points, all 18 Steeler points coming from Boswell's leg. Good on you, bud. I love that. I know people don't like kickers. Sue me. Call me a sucker for the classics. I don't care. I think it's awesome. All right. We have number 3. This was the third best game of the week, and I actually did watch this game end to end. Seahawks just 48. Seahawks beat 49ers 20-17. It's early here on the East Coast. 20-17. Seahawks win. They were dogs in this one. This was a good one. After losing at home to San Francisco 36-24 week 6, everyone assumed yesterday afternoon's game was a mere formality. However, the 6.5-point underdog Seattle Seahawks prevailed, defeating the 49ers 20-17. It was a close, hard-fought game and exciting end-to-end. I loved it. I loved watching every second of it. If you didn't watch this one, you really did miss out. This was a good one. Weather was bad. I don't know if any of you guys are bettors like me. I am, but I keep it low. $1, $2 at most. $3. Whoa. Hey now, high roller. I was betting the under on Brock Purdy passing yards, and I was hitting that. I was hammering that. I felt like calling up my grandma. Grandma, get a betting app. Get a betting app and hammer that under. Make a little money for yourself. Everybody should have been hammering the under on that one. And he hit it. 159. He was off by 100 almost. It was 230 going into play. So I had that tied to a lot of stuff. And it was good. Good. You got to check the weather reports, boys. Brock Purdy, 21 for 28, 159 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, 2 sacks for a loss of 13. Christian McCaffrey had a terrific game for the 49ers, but not good enough. He had 19 carries for 79 rushing yards, but then he also had 4 receptions for 27. So he looks to be back. They knew that Brock Purdy didn't have it. They knew the weather was kind of crummy out, so they knew they were going to be running the ball a lot. They kind of stacked the line there to hold McCaffrey back from rushing. Almost a rate of what? 2 yards per carry? Almost. No, 4. So kind of held him back a little bit. We're used to seeing some pretty big Christian McCaffrey runs. Didn't get one. His longest was only 11. But okay. I mean, you'll take it. Jawan Jennings, who was on a milk carton for most of the NFL season after he had that blistering hot start. Suddenly, he looks like he's week 6, Jawan Jennings again. 10 receptions, 91 yards, and a touchdown. His longest was 22 on 11 targets. Incredible. We already highlighted McCaffrey here. Debo, 4 for 22 on 7 targets and only 1 carry for a loss of 1 yard. So Debo kind of becoming an afterthought these last couple of weeks here. The Seattle Seahawks, well, they won, so let's kind of talk about them here. 25 for 32 for Geno Smith, 221 yards, 1 interception, getting sacked 4 times for a loss of 26 yards, and they still prevail. Kenneth Walker, the third, 14 carries for 54 yards and a touchdown as a running back. I almost said as a receiver. Geno Smith, 4 carries for 29 yards and 1 touchdown. There's the one. And Jackson Smith and Jigba had a carry too for 8. Not bad. They got creative. The Seattle Seahawks did. Well done. Receiving Jackson Smith and Jigba, an incredible game. 10 receptions for 110 yards on 11 targets. DK Metcalf, 7 receptions for 70 yards. Tyler Lockett, 2 for 19. When they got all their guys going, man, this could be a really dangerous offense. The Seattle Seahawks can be. There was a fumble by Geno Smith, but he recovered his own. As far as their defense goes, 2 sacks for the Seattle defense. Derek Hall and Draymond Jones. Meanwhile, 4 sacks by the 49ers. Nick Bosa had 1.5. Leonard Floyd had 1.5. And 1 to Yetur Gross-Matos. 1 interception apiece for these teams. Jonathan Hankins had 1, and Isaac Yiadom had 1. And that was an 11-yard pick for him. So this was a really good game. This was a fun one. Seahawks won it on the last second by more or less the last second on a rushing touchdown by Geno Smith. It was important to note that George Kittle didn't play. That's one. And Nick Bosa did have to kind of leave the game early. They stopped using him after a while. And yeah, that was probably the biggest factor in the Seahawks coming back. Geno Smith looked way more comfortable. The Seahawks offense in general looked way more creative. They could do more. And if you're the 49ers, I wouldn't harp on it too much. Again, it's 9 o'clock here, a little after 9 o'clock here on the East Coast. So you're going to be seeing on Fox Sports today and ESPN and hearing on podcasts and reading articles, are the 49ers overrated? No, they got a bad break in this one. I usually, when injury-prone teams, injuries rear their ugly head, I said, that's on you. But you should have fail-safes built in. But in this case, it really was just kind of a wild game that could have gone any which way. Again, the weather was a big factor going into it. So people are going to be talking about Brock Purdy's stats. All things considered, I didn't think he was that bad. He was 21 for 28. Try to keep it short. Try to get runs, yards after the catch here. That's the way the 49ers have dominated these past 2.5 seasons, 2 years, with Brock Purdy at the helm. So what do you want me to say? I don't think he was bad at all. It's just sometimes a team game plans properly, and sometimes you get a bad break. C'est la vie. You move on. Number 2, the second best game of the week. Chiefs at Bills. Bills defeat the Chiefs in the regular season for the second year in a row. Last night's game ended with Buffalo up 30-21 after Josh Allen heroically ran in a touchdown of his own. This is Kansas City's first loss of the 2024 season and their first loss since Christmas Day of last year when the Las Vegas Raiders beat them by a score of 20-14. And good Lord, if you missed that Raiders game last year, you were missing out. That was a great one. And I don't know why I remembered it. I remembered the game, but I remembered it being the Dolphins that beat the Chiefs. I don't know why. Clearly, I was wrong when I researched it. Okay. This was another good one. This was going into this week. Everybody was circling. This was the game of the week. Everybody and their mother. Sadly, it wound up not being that case, in my opinion. You can disagree with me all you want and let me know in the comment sections below. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to Respect My Region 365. And always engage with us. Comment. Be active. We want a community here at respectmyregion.com. Okay, back to the game. Josh Allen, 27 for 40, 262 yards, a touchdown, an interception, no sacks, and it was also the Bills' leading rusher, 12 carries for 55 yards and a touchdown, and the 26-yard touchdown to basically sealed the game. There was, I think, about a minute left for the Chiefs to score, and it wound up not mattering. James Cook, 9 for 20 and 2 touchdowns. Not bad. And then out of the backfield, out of the receivers, what is with me today? Khalil Shakir, 8 receptions for 70 yards, the longest of 22 on 12 targets. Curtis Samuel, 5 for 58 and a touchdown on 6 targets. Mari Cooper, still kind of getting acclimated to the Bills here, 2 for 55. Not bad. Not a bad rate. Dawson Knox, 4 for 40, who I believe was questionable at one point last week. Clearly, he wound up playing. They did get 2 sacks on the Chiefs, which is pretty hard to do with the always elusive Patrick Mahomes. But yeah, not bad. Usually the defense line is so much longer. I wind up scrolling right past it. I have all the stats in front of me. Terrell Bernard had one, as did Von Miller. Von Miller's still getting it done. Jeez, how old is he now? 35. Wow. Man, I remember when I was in middle school, he was one of the best defensemen. Good for him. Keeping it going. And DeMar Hamlin had 4 tackles. 2 of them were solo tackles. Good for him. I like that. They're an easy team to root for. 2 interceptions by Patrick Mahomes in this one. Rather uncharacteristic. Taylor Rapp had one for 5 yards. Terrell Bernard had one. What a game for Terrell Bernard. Sack and an interception. He's better than this guy. The Chiefs also had an interception of their own. Shamari Connor had one for a 29-yard gain. All right, taking a look at the Chiefs scoring here. Patrick Mahomes, 23 for 33 on 196 yards. Below 200. You don't usually see that from him. 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, 2 sacks for a loss of 15. Kansas City rushing. Kareem Hunt, 14 for 60. That's pretty good. Mecole Hardman, 1 for 9. Xavier Worthy, 1 for 7. Carson Steele, 1 for 2. And you know what? I kind of got distracted there by myself here. I always look, you know what it is? They have the yards per pass on the receivers. I mean, on the quarterbacks. They don't have the yards per run or yards per attempt for the running backs. So I always have to do the math mentally. And it's just, I don't know why. It doesn't translate well. Because I was just like, that's pretty good. And then I'm thinking about it, that's below 4. Usually I try to have like a soft threshold of like 4 and up is pretty good. Like that 3.8 to 4.2 is pretty good. Then anything above there is, yeah, it's a heck of a ball game for you. But I don't know. I just no consistency on my part. I don't know. Maybe it's me. I don't know. Let me know in the comment section below if you have any weird rules like that, little thresholds that you quantify as good. You know, of course, we all know the 50, 40, 90s and 300 batting average. We all know that stuff. But what are your soft little rules? Let me know. Curious. Moving on. We have just wrapping up on the Chiefs game here. 4 receptions for 61 yards by Xavier Worthy and a touchdown. Noah Gray, 2 touchdowns on only 23 yards. Good on him. 4 receptions. And this one for the tight end. A lot of people, Travis Kelce, 2 for 8. They were trying to make the other guys beat him. That's what the Bills' game plan clearly was. They wanted the other pass-eligible players on the Chiefs to be the ones to beat them one way or the other. And it worked. It worked. Their game plan worked. Sometimes they're able to win even when Travis Kelce isn't as involved. Other times he's not. It happens. Other times they're not winners. I'm going to say. This time around, they lost. And I know people are going to be talking about you got to get Travis Kelce involved or whatever. This is how they usually win. They use him as a decoy sometimes. They try to get guys involved, try to make you overlook players like Noah Gray and like Justin Watson because you're putting too much of an emphasis on Travis Kelce or some of these other players. And they got burned. When you have that much talent offensively and the drop-off player to player isn't as stark as other teams are, you can do a little more. And especially Andy Reid, who's one of the best head coaches that we've seen in the NFL in the 21st century. They lost. It happens. Some team stats for you on this one. The Bills had 5 more first downs. They were 9 for 15 on third down efficiency. Chiefs were 5 for 10. So Bills were better, but still 50% on third downs. That's not that bad. You'll take that any day of the week. Better passing from the Bills. More significant more total yardage. 107 more yards for them. With only 1 more drive. Really good one. This is going to be a big one. Chiefs, 6 penalties for 57 yards. Bills, 3 for 24. And the Bills had 10 more minutes of possession. When that happens, you're going to lose. So, Chiefs, it's their first loss of the season. Forget it. Move on. Get your redemption in the playoffs. The game of the week, without question. If you stayed up like I did to watch Sunday Night Football, what a treat it was. Bengals at Chargers. Chargers win a thriller, 34-27, after Cincinnati ties the game, coming back from a 21-point deficit in the second half. This was incredible. This was game of the week. NFL network classics. Yeah, this was good. This was a really good one. I'm happy I stayed up. This was a treat. I feel like so many of the nationally televised games now are horrible. It's just bad luck. But this one, what a game. So going into the half, 24-6. 24-6. And then the Chargers score first in the third quarter. And that's 27-6. And this one looks over. Pack it in, it's over. And the Bengals claw their way back, score 21 unanswered points, and then eventually the Chargers win on a J.K. Dobbins touchdown, his second of the night. It was great. Justin Herbert in this one, 17 for 36, 297 yards. Not exactly a great game. Not exactly a great game. He was fantastic in the first half and horrible for the third quarter. It was 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out. Seemingly every single drive for the third and fourth quarter for the Chargers. And then when the light shined the brightest, he turned it on. I kept thinking to myself, I had a little action on Justin Herbert over, I think it was 246 and a half yards. So I was getting nervous. I stuck at 241 for a while. I was like, last drive of the game comes, and there it happens. He just unloads and gets the Chargers into a good position. From there on, J.K. Dobbins scored the rushing touchdown, but it was a long one. I think it was the 29-yard rush. Was that it? His longest was 29, but I can't recall if that was the touchdown or not. It was the 29-yarder. So it was a 4-play, 84-yard drive. 27 seconds left. A 27-second left in the for the Bengals, and they just couldn't get anything going. This was a good one. There's nothing I can't say positive about this game from an entertainment standpoint. There's a lot we could talk about, mostly on the Bengals side of things. But yeah, Justin Herbert, 2 sacks for a loss of 17. Not great, but what are you going to do, right? Rushing, Herbert, 5 for 65. And J.K. Dobbins, 11 for 56. And that's including the 29er for 2 touchdowns. Gus Edwards, 6 for 27. Ladd McConkey, what a game for this kid. 6 receptions on 9 targets for 123 yards. Will Dissly, 4 for 80 on 1 touchdown. Quentin Johnson, 2 for 48 and a touchdown. That's 3 straight games with a touchdown. So only 2 receptions. I got lucky because I actually, again, put a little action on him to get a touchdown there. And that hit early. That hit really early. Then, Joshua Palmer, 2 for 23. Darius Davis, 1 for 14. Tucker Fisk, 1 for 6. Still have my glasses on. And then Dobbins, 1 for 3. And Jalen Reagor's on the Chargers. I have no clue. Justin Herbert did have a fumble, which was recovered by Geno Stone of the Bengals defense. That wound up being a pretty big turning point in this game. The sacks for the Chargers. Derwin James Jr. had a half a sack. Tulu Tuipulotu had 1.5. I hope I got that right. Puna Ford had 1. And that accounts for all 3. Interceptions, none. None in this game at all. I could have sworn there was one. Maybe it got called back or something. So Chargers, they outlasted them. This was a heck of a game, man. This was a heck of a game. We got to give flowers to the Bengals. Joe Burrow, 28 for 50, 356 yards, 3 touchdowns, 3 sacks for a loss of 14, 356 yards, and your team loses. We're going to be talking a little more about that shortly. Rushing, Chase Brown, 22 for 86. Joe Burrow, 2 for 28, the longest of 14. No, not bad. He was able to get his longest twice. Look at that. Receiving, T. Higgins, 9 for 148 and a touchdown. Great game by him. Jamar Chase, 7 for 75 and 2 touchdowns. Chase Brown, 5 for 57 out of the backfield, and was so crucial in the third quarter on all those drives out of the backfield. They were using him magnificently. Just constantly getting them yards, getting them first downs. 5 for 57, but it felt like a whole lot more, both receptions and yards. backbreaking for Chase Brown. Andre Iosivas, 3 for 46, great name. 3 for 46 out of Princeton graduate, too, if I'm not mistaken. Tanner Hudson, 2 for 13. And Andre Iosivas, another one. Anytime they needed a big play and it went his way, he got it. 3 for 3. 3 receptions, 3 targets, 46 yards. Not bad. Not bad. And again, it felt like a lot more. The sacks, Joseph Osai had one, and Trey Hendrickson had a half, as did Cam Taylor Britt. The team stats in this one are probably wild, if I had to guess. Yeah, third down efficiency for the Bengals, 5 for 17. Chargers, 3 for 11. Fourth down efficiency, 3 for 3 by the Bengals, 1 for 1 by the Chargers. Passing first downs, 14 for the Bengals, 14 for the Chargers. Total plays, 78 for the Bengals, 63 for the Chargers. Total yards, the Bengals actually had more yards than the Chargers in this one. It's hard to believe as that is, given they were down 21 at one point. 452 to 435. Total drives, an even 13. Yards per play, 5.8 to 6.9. Passing, 342 to 280. Again, yards per pass, 6.5 to 7.4. Rushing, Chargers outrushed them, 155 to 110. Penalties, 856 to 550. So 8 for a loss of 56 by the Bengals to 550 for the Chargers. 1 turnover by the Chargers, the fumble. The Bengals had 9 more minutes of time of possession. Wild game. Really, it's a wild game. Okay, so that's recapping the games. All right, so now what? First of all, it seems like the Bengals making the playoffs is just not going to happen. I have to move out of the light here. Still trying to work through things here from home. It seems like that's not going to happen. They're basically going to need to run the table. They have Pittsburgh next, then Dallas, then Tennessee, then Cleveland, then the Broncos, then Pittsburgh again. Let's say you split with the Pittsburgh games to make it easy on myself. I'll say the next one's a win at home. So 1-2-0 down the stretch, you could easily beat Dallas. 3-0 against Tennessee. 4-0 against Cleveland. 5-0 against Denver. And then this is where you get your loss, 5-1 down the stretch. 9-8, is that going to be good enough in the AFC to make the playoffs? I don't think 9-8 is. I don't think it is. 10-7, is that going to be good enough to make it? I don't even know if that is. They would have, in my fantasy world here, they would have the tiebreaker over the Broncos. So that's going to be crucial. But they really needed to beat the Chargers last night. They would have been 5-7, which would have put them at 9 behind the Colts, and would have put, first of all, them having the tiebreaker over the Chargers and slid the Chargers back to 6-4, which would be what, good for the 6th seed, something like that. So they really needed that one. And again, people are going to be ragging on their defense this whole day, this whole week. Really, their defense in the second half is really what kept them in it. They're terrific, and that's the problem with the Bengals. They start the year off slow from a wins-loss perspective. They start games off slow in general, especially on the defensive side of the ball. If they played 4 quarters the way they played the last 2, forget it. Forget it. They would be one of the best teams in the league. Instead, they're number 1 in almost every offensive category, including touchdowns, passing yards, passing touchdowns, just about everything. Yards per play. I mean, everything. They're first. And they're going to miss the playoffs. And I don't think it's going to be particularly close. I mean, some of the teams ahead of them, they're in a better spot. Dolphins, they have Tua back now. The Colts, they won yesterday, but who knows? The Broncos, they look fantastic. They crushed the Falcons last night. That one wasn't close at all. That wasn't even close from the beginning. 38-6. Bo Nix has been very good. The rookie quarterback there. I don't know. I don't see a path for the Bengals to make the playoffs. I don't. And it sucks because I love watching their team play. And even worse than that, Jamar Chase. What's going to happen? Are they going to bring him back? Does he want to come back? How come they can't get a deal done? I don't know. And their head coach, Zach Taylor, isn't making things any easier. I think that needs to be rectified somehow. They need to get rid of him. Every single year, this team starts off slow. They start off behind the eight ball, under 500, and they have to crawl their way out of it and play perfect every single week. And it's an unrealistic standard to hold yourself to. So when that happens, what are you going to do? It's too late to do anything. The trade deadline has come and gone. You're not exactly seeing high caliber talent make their way across the waiver wire. You have T. Higgins. He's a really good second wide receiver. He's an overqualified second wide receiver. You have the quarterback figured out. Chase Brown has looked terrific. You got to hold on to Jamar Chase. Let the defense fix itself. You have Trey Hendrickson. He's leading the league in sacks. He's one of the better defensive players. Maybe he's going to get Defensive Player of the Year. We'll see. There's still plenty of time left. But something's got to change. Obviously not mid-season because they're too close to fire a coach. But I doubt week 1 next year he's on the sideline, Zach Taylor. I don't think that's happening. It is Zach Taylor, right? Not getting him confused with the dude from the Bills. Yeah. Okay, good. That's Sean Taylor. Yeah, I was like, I hope I'm not making fun of the wrong guy here. Other news, the Jaguars. Dude, what is going on? I don't even know anymore. They didn't have Trevor Lawrence, so we'll write off getting creamed yesterday. What was this? It was something stupid. 58, 56. What was it? 52-6. Baby. I mean, it's horrible. Mac Jones only got sacked once. Travis Etienne, 12 carries for only 27 yards. That's bad. I don't even have to sit here and do the turkey math for it. Their defense is a joke. You want to talk about a team that needs a new coaching staff mid-season? That's the one. And now they're the odds-on favorite for the first overall pick. So I do have the draft order right here in front of me. Thank you for somebody who actually updated it. So the draft order, as of now, we'll just do first 15 picks. Why not? This would be the draft lottery in the NBA. Jacksonville Jaguars first, then the Titans, then the Browns, then the Raiders, then my Giants at 5. Even when we have a bye week, we still lose. Look at that. 6 Patriots at 3-8, 7 Jets at 3-8, 8 Panthers at 3-7, Cowboys 3-6, Saints at 4-7, Bengals at 4-7, Dolphins at 4-6, Bucks at 4-6, Bears 4-6, Colts 5-6. So the Jaguars, they're going to have another first overall pick. If the season ended today, you already have Trevor Lawrence, you have the money there, figure it out. You have Travis Etienne, who's really good the last couple of seasons and now just looks unplayable as your running back. You have Evan Ingram. I mean, you got players. You got players. That's the crazy part. They got players. Usually when you see teams doing this bad, it's because, you know, the team just isn't good. Gabe Davis is okay. Devin Duvernay has been good in the past. Not great, but good, acceptable. Maybe if you want to say something about their wide receivers, fine, maybe. But overall, they're not this bad. Come on, not this bad. Christian Kirk is on the IR, but still, I don't know. They've been laughably bad this year, and they're expected to do well. They're expected to be one of the teams, not just in the AFC South, but in the league. A lot of people just thought they were going to make the playoffs without even thinking about it. They've gotten 2 wins this year, a 37-34 shootout against the Colts and a 32-16 game against the Patriots, week 7 against the Pats, week 5 against the Colts. And since then, 30-27 lost to Green Bay, 28-23 lost to Philadelphia, 12-7 to Minnesota, 52-6 to the Lions. Some of these are close games. And they're still, they just can't find a way to win. They just can't. I think they got to move on from Doug Peterson. I'm sure he's a lovely guy. You hear nothing but good things about him, but the whole coaching staff needs to go. They were like the Bengals a couple of years ago when they made the playoffs. They struggled early on, and then they turned it around late, and they were hot going into the playoffs. Then they played the Chargers. The Chargers kind of shot themselves in the foot in that game with head coach Brendan Staley. And since then, it's just been downhill. Anytime people expect them to turn the corner and take that big step into being an elite team like Josh Allen did with the Bills and like Mahomes did with the Chiefs, and be a mainstay in the playoff picture, kind of be the Phil Rivers or Joe Flacco to the, Brady Mahomes, Josh Allen, Peyton Manning, like the way people are talking about that one. And they just can't do it. Nothing seems to go right for them. I just saw this. I have no information on it. I just saw this when I sat down. It's early. Giants bench quarterback Daniel Jones and turn to Tommy DeVito. The Giants have benched their struggling Daniel. I'm just going to read the report here from ESPN.com. The Giants have benched the struggling Daniel Jones and expected to name Tommy DeVito as their new starting quarterback, sources told ESPN's Adam Schefter. The benching of Jones starts the process of the last-place Giants moving on from the quarterback they signed to a 4-year, $160 million deal less than 2 years ago. DeVito will start in Jones' place beginning Sunday against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at MetLife Stadium. The Giants, who are 2-8, who are coming off their bye, also have veteran Drew Lock, who has served as Jones' backup for every game this season. The change at the quarterback position comes with 7 games remaining in New York's season. Although the Giants' record and Jones' play were key factors in the move, ownership and general manager Joe Schoen also had to consider that there is a $23 million injury guarantee in his contract for 2025 that becomes fully guaranteed if he gets injured and is unable to pass a physical in the offseason. Yeah, teams do this sometimes. I was a believer on Daniel Jones. I like Daniel Jones. He seems like a terrific guy. It sucks. It sucks. I think he's kind of underrated in terms of how people view him. This year, not good example, I know. But last year, I thought he got too much flack. I mean, he was getting sacked at like an insane rate. He had no offensive line. The year before that, I mean, this was really the first year where they had on paper a good offensive line. Even then, litany of injuries. But at this point, you got to move on. He's done. He's done. He won a playoff game against the Vikings, and it was great. It was awesome. It was fun. The year before, they should have went to the playoffs, but Evan Ingram dropped 3 game winning passes. And even before that, I think that was a Dak Prescott injury game season. Whatever that season was, the Giants missed the playoffs by 1 game, and they should have beaten the Cowboys that game. They got robbed. 2 touchdowns got called back. They could have made the playoffs 2 to 3 more years. I'm sorry, 1 to 2 more times than they actually did, which would have given them 3 under Daniel Jones. As much as people are going to hate on him and maybe hate on me for saying this, as much as it's easy to say Daniel Jones failed the Giants failed Daniel Jones a lot more. I know they gave him the insane contract that they shouldn't have given him. They should have re-signed Saquon Barkley. They tried to do both. They tried to get both of them, and Saquon, whatever happened there, I don't know. Even then, with incentives and things like that, he took about the same amount of money the Eagles are giving him, the Giants were offering. So I don't know. I think maybe he just wanted a fresh start or on a team that he kind of saw was trending upwards. Regardless, it's over. They could waive him after the year, and I think it's a $22.5 million cap hit, if I'm not mistaken. But I at least get out of the contract. And yeah, this is how it ends. The Daniel Jones era is over. I remember when he got drafted, and I was at work, and me and all my coworkers, all Giants fans, were laughing about how on earth are we taking this kid out of Duke? Is this the NBA draft or the NFL draft? It's a shame. And I think that the media was always too hard on him because of that, because he was a football guy coming out of Duke. And I think his personality kind of coming off as a Wonder Bread personality that really just gives you nothing, bland. That's okay when you're winning like Eli Manning is, but even when Eli was losing early on in his career, people criticized him for it. Especially the whole requesting a trade from the Chargers thing, whatever. So I don't know what to make of it. I feel like I've seen worse quarterbacks in my time. Probably will continue to see worse quarterbacks. But this time, they got to move on. They got to move on. It's a shame. I'm sure he's a great guy, but it's over. He's not going to be a starter in the NFL anymore. Unless, of course, the team is trying to tank but doesn't have a high enough draft spot, like a middling team. I guess kind of like if they're all free agents, I wouldn't be surprised if like the Browns tried to get him, or a team like that, or the Colts, or a team that's kind of good enough that they have pieces on the roster that maybe they can make the playoffs, but not good enough to actually make it. Test the waters a little bit. And I was saying, we're just talking about the Jaguars. I think that Trevor Lawrence is Daniel Jones a better PR. Going into last season, I thought he was better than Dak Prescott, and I didn't think there was an argument. I thought he was better than Kirk Cousins. I didn't think there was an argument. Now, I don't know what happened. Every kind of development he had, every step of the way he took in a positive direction, he's regressed tenfold. It's a shame. It's a shame. R.I.P. Vanilla Vic. You were a New York icon for a year, and now just another footnote in the long list of New York sports busts in the 21st century. We really can't have anything nice here. We really can't. People make fun of New Yorkers, front runners, whatever. Oh my God. Our hockey teams haven't won since 93. I'm a Devils fan, so I don't really care about that. Basketball hasn't won since the 70s. Jets haven't won since 67, 69, something like that. 70, whatever it was, Super Bowl 3. Nets have never won an NBA championship. The ABA was the only time they had any real success when they were the Long Island Nets. Probably like one of 5 people who even knew they were the Long Island Nets at one point. It sucks. It sucks. And at least the Jets. At least we have the Jets. Oh, wait a minute. They've been horrible too. And I don't know what's going on. Supposedly Aaron Rodgers isn't retiring after this season. I think he ought to consider it. They lose again. I mean, New York sports is just, there's nothing fun in New York sports these last couple of weeks. The Knicks are pretty good. They put a beating on the Nets last night and Friday night. So that's kind of fun, I guess. But, even then, the expense is another New York team. Yeah, Colts beat the Jets 28-27. Yeah, real quick, before I sign out here, Jets fire Robert Saleh, defensive-minded coach, and since then, their defense has just sucked. Just irredeemably bad. So I don't know what's going on there, but, who made the decision on firing Robert Saleh? But honestly, oh my gosh, why don't you cut that guy instead? Fire him. They've been so bad. All anybody talks about, their secondary, Sauce Gardner, this, that, the other. And, dude, Josh Downs cooked them. 5 for 84 and a touchdown on 5 targets. Alec Pierce, 3 for 74. Michael Pittman, 5 for 46. Dude, I don't even know who some of these guys are. Kyle Granson, you could put him in front of me, and I have no clue who he is. Drew Ogletree. Beats me. Brees Hall can't even run anymore. 16 for 78 and a touchdown. Probably his best game in weeks, in months, it feels like. And then 7 for 43 as a receiver and 1 touchdown. I don't know what's going to happen with the Jets. I don't know what's going to happen with my Giants. But we can take a look at the schedule for next NFL week. I'll tell you some games to keep an eye out for. Thursday night, Pittsburgh at Browns. Well, I will tell you for sure I'm not watching that. Sunday, Vikings at Bears, 1 o'clock game. Lions at Colts, Patriots at Dolphins, Buccaneers at Giants. I'll be watching that, sadly. I'm going to see how Tommy DeVito does. Cowboys at Washington, Chiefs at Panthers, Titans at Texans. God, this week sucks. Broncos at Raiders, 49ers at Green Bay. Oh, finally, something. And Cardinals at Seattle. All right, so 4:30 next week. I'll be able to watch something pretty good. And the 4 o'clock game on CBS, if I get it, would be Broncos at Raiders. I don't mind the Broncos so much. Again, they're a fun team to watch this year. The Sunday nighter, Eagles at Rams. That's pretty cool. Monday, Baltimore at Chargers. And then the byes, Atlanta, Buffalo, Cincy, Saints, Jets, Jacksonville. All right. And that does it for this RMR Sports Report by me, Denis Tuohy. Thank you for sitting down with me and hanging out for a little bit, hanging out for 53 minutes. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe on all of our socials on Facebook, Twitch, LinkedIn, and YouTube. It's either going to be Respect My Region or Respect My Region 365 on all those platforms.